Hi, welcome back to Boy to Boy. Today we're going to be doing a review on the i5 4570S, the 5-year-old CPU. So, the i5 4570S released in Q2 of 2013 at an original price of €207. It had 4 cores and 4 threads, a base clock of 2.9 GHz, and a boost clock of 3.6 GHz, and it was built on the 22nm process. So the PC specs we'll be dealing with today is an i5 4570S, 8GB DDR3 running at 1600MHz, a 500GB hard drive, and Intel HD graphics 4600. So the settings we ran in CSGO were shadows on low, model detail on low, 2 times MSIA, texture filtering on bilinear, and texture streaming on. So at 1366 by 768 we had an average of 29 FPS, which is where you really want to aim for with low-end hardware like this. So at 1920 by 1080 we'd an average of 16 FPS, which just, it doesn't hit the mark. So overall I'll give this game a score of 5 out of 10. Now at 768 this game was easily playable, but not at 1080. Maybe if you had FSR it might be playable, but currently FSR isn't available in this game. So in Half-Life 2 the settings we ran were model detail on medium, texture detail on medium, shader detail on high, water detail on reflect world, shadow detail on low, anti-aliasing at 2x MSIA, and filtering mode on anisotropic 4 times. So at 1366 by 768 we'd an average of 113 FPS, which I wouldn't even complain about. Like, you don't even need that. So at 1920 by 1080 we'd an average 77 FPS, which is again nothing to scoff at. That's really good. So overall, I'll give this game a score of 9 out of 10. It ran really well at both 768 and 1080. Yeah, it's nearly a 20-year-old game. I wasn't really expecting it to run bad, but it ran better than the Pentium G, so I'll give it that. So for Terraria, again, I couldn't find settings. If there actually is settings in the game and I'm just blind, please say in the comments because I cannot find them. So for Terraria at 1366 by 768, I had an average of 50 FPS. So 1920 by 1080, I had an average of 27 FPS. So overall, I'll give this game a score of a 6 out of 10. I might remove this in my next test because nearly all the time Terraria gives me the same numbers and it is uncapped as well. Uh, it also isn't a very demanding game, so I think I might switch to Minecraft or something for the next tests. So for Hearts of Iron 4, the settings we had were a multi-sample rate of 4, a texture quality of medium, all visual effects on, and the game running at speed 4. So at 1366 by 768, we'd an average of 21 FPS, which is actually fine if you compare it to the A6 I reviewed last time. So at 1920 by 1080, we'd an average of 12 FPS. Again, it's better than the A6, but like, it isn't good. So overall, I'll give this game a score of 4 out of 10. Honestly, at 768, it'd probably be fine in a 3-speed multiplayer match, but at 1080, it just isn't. Uh, the games are really slow on 1080. So for Hat in Time's settings we ran were the game's performance preset. So at 1366 by 768, we had an average of 22 FPS, which I wouldn't complain about. You can mostly play the game with that, and there's only a minor amount of stuttering. So at 1920 by 1080, we'd an average of 19 FPS, which is actually still fine. It's noticeably slower than 768, but it's still playable. So overall, I'll give this game a score of 5 out of 10. You know, it wasn't the greatest. 20 FPS isn't as good as 30, and it's at least better than 10. So there's that. But yeah, it ran fine. I wouldn't call it a great experience, but if it's all you have, it's all you have. Okay, now on to the random background footage while I talk about numbers from Cinebench and Blender. So in the Blender test on Monster, I got a 21.139137. On Junkyard, I got a 0.664727, and on Classroom, I got a 10.346784. So on Cinebench, I got a single core score of 771, a multi-core score of 2676, and an MP ratio of 3.47 times. So overall, what I say about the CPU? Well, for a fiver, you can't really beat it. If you need to upgrade an old HP or Dell computer with a dual core, this is probably one of your best options out there, as it's really cheap. So yeah, that's what I'd say about it. So I want to say a few things before I end the video. Number one, if there's any criticisms you have or anything you liked, please leave them in the comments below, as I am trying to learn. And I want to state another thing as well before that I end this. I couldn't calculate 1% lows. I think it's a problem with Intel 4th Gen because I had the same problem with the Pentium G. But yeah, I just couldn't calculate 1% lows. So yeah, other than that, thanks for watching. There probably won't be a video out after this. But other than that, yeah, thanks for watching. Slunga fall.